Hello, welcome back to the channel 12-Step Guide with Troy O. Today we're going to begin step 11 in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book. I'm going to call this step 11 preamble. Be very, very little reading today. We'll get into the reading the next time. So why am I doing it this way? In an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, when we would generally be reading this chapter, it's a large chapter, and when you'd get to step 11, this would be page 98 in the original version, Into Action. In italics, it would begin with step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. Okay, so we know that much, but well, what is step 11? And we know that in how it works, page 71 in the original version, Bill listed the 12 steps. So what I want to do today is really slow things down and focus just on breaking down the step. Before we get started with that reading next time, I really want you to be able to hear and understand what Bill is saying. I'm also going to make sense of an earlier step today. So let's get started. And I've got a lot of notes that I'll be referring to today as we break this down. So we know step 11 is relating to God, prayer, and meditation. It's my intent to help the listener make sense of step 11 and be able to make great use of it. And this is important, this next piece, regardless of your belief system. I've really committed to that everyone is entitled to recovery, and I'll try to meet you where you're at. And regardless of how far down the scale you might be coming from. That's important also. So what is step 11? Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Now, before I break that down, I want to introduce an earlier step, one that I struggled to fully really be able to understand. How might I be able to do this? And today we're going to have an opportunity to take a shot at it to really make some sense of one area, one avenue where we can really make sense of it. So in this step book, page 68, step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Let's put that into practice today. There's something Bill wrote in there on page 68 that I want to first look at, because we're going to apply that today. I'm not limiting it to this, but I just want to make sense of it here today. If we would gain any real advantage in the use of this step on problems other than alcohol, that's life issues. That's anybody. The alcoholic just may be coming a little bit further out to get to that point. Anyway, so I'm going to start it again. If we would gain any real advantage in the use of this step on problems other than alcohol, we shall need to make a brand new venture into open-mindedness. This open-mindedness, this is a place today where That would be very, very helpful. So continuing on. We shall need to raise our eyes towards perfection and be ready to walk in that direction. Now that's in step 6. And I was left many a times with, how do you do that? This is one avenue where we could practice that. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to clarify so that along the way in this step, we're not confused with what we're seeking to achieve. So I'm going to use myself as the example. I'm not glowing with purity. This isn't about making me pure or perfect. Instead, it's a mindset that I'm going to use, something happening inside of us that we attempt to set in motion during meditation, a place where you can achieve this. Sometimes I take something out of it to work with during meditation, not always, but it will become a point of reference. Maybe a bad thought or judgment comes into my mind during the day, just happens, and a gentle voice says, is that really what you want or believe? Something that came out of meditation, a different place. Sometimes I just get thoughts and ideas, they just show up. I don't know where they come from. It's not uncommon in life. I don't respond or react to every thought that comes in. Along the way, when I was quitting smoking, a thought might have come to say, oh, gee, maybe I'd like to have a cigarette. Well, you know what? No, I wouldn't. Or a drink, or jump off a cliff, or a whole lot of other things that, could come to mind, for example. So the closest I might get to purity of heart, it's during meditation. If I am willing, this state of mind and emotion, it's seeking a state of mind and emotion where there isn't turmoil. We try to let go of all the problems. Only you can achieve this state of mind. No one can do it for you. Active addiction doesn't like this environment. It can't hide here, and we'll get into some of that more. I suggest during meditation you keep a pen and paper next to you. It could be as simple as a thought like, oh, you know what, I forgot to buy eggs or take out the trash. And instead of focusing on that during meditation, you just write it down. You can trap the idea without breaking meditation. Something deeper could also surface that you might like to write down. Now, many in early recovery, or even at certain times, will find meditation is a noisy place. Raising your eye toward perfection can be as simple as letting go of all conflicts or disturbances during meditation, removing that which isn't so perfect around us. We do our best to quiet the mind and see what shows up. Sometimes an interactive meditation might help, especially if you struggle to quiet the mind. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on that after, what I mean by that. So let's get started. Sought through. To seek out. Search for or look for. Achieved using a specific method. That method being prayer. So what is prayer? How might we describe it or define that in this context? It's not limited to this. Formed ideas conveyed in words or thought, messages having direction or a plan with purpose. personal intentions outlining goals and objectives towards a better outcome for oneself and or others. A vision to strive for which is spoken. A request for help. Expressed thanks. Request for guidance. Confession. To elicit forgiveness of ourselves or for others, but always to the benefit of others. This prayer, in the context of Alcoholics Anonymous, as I understand it, in spirit of what I believe Bill intended, and we're going to read all that stuff. We'll read the big book, and then we'll read the step book, and you'll have an opportunity to determine for yourself more on this. But this prayer, not greedy, not prideful or boastful or contemptuous or revengeful or harmful or underhanded or with sleazy intent. And meditation, so sought through prayer and meditation. So what is meditation? Enter the world of spirit. How might I do that? We leave wants, needs, desires behind to get there. It's the in-the-moment consciousness or the waking conscious choosing to step back and allow the greater conscious mind and subconscious mind to communicate, possibly even accessing a spiritual cloud or superhighway of higher intelligence. Our in-the-moment consciousness monitors this activity. Reasons we might do this: to reduce stress, anxiety, physical relaxation, take a break or a temporary getaway, to seek knowledge or direction. It's even suggested medically to lower something as simple as your eye pressure. And there are various types of meditations. So, to improve our, sought through prayer and meditation, to improve our, that's to advance, to enhance, reform, upgrade, refine, or make better or stronger, clearer, positive development. To improve our conscious contact, accessing an information superhighway where inspirations, knowledge, inventions, clarity, new understanding, freedom, access to the point of our existence, learning the language and culture, learning how to do it, how to turn it on, learning about interpreting what you're seeing, translating images, understanding sounds. It's something as simple as a burp or a yawn or a hiccup, an inner chill, a vision, might even speak through others. So there is interpretations that happen inside of meditation or possibly outside of it. It's a process lightly compared to learning how to communicate with a pet, for example. You don't just speak directly to it and it speaks back. It's a learned environment. Conscious contact with God. The developer, creator, inventor, a spiritual information superhighway connecting us to the light and intelligence of the universe, or connecting you to the roots of your belief system. Those roots somehow produced a flower, that flower being yourself. That's a flower of intelligence, and it's revealed within different aspects of ourself during meditation, if we allow it. What it isn't, but you could encounter this in meditation. It isn't the God of alcohol or drugs or sex or violence or gambling, emotional suffering. It's not the God of revenge, etc. It helps if we can see, better identify, and give voice to the different parts of ourself. Maybe we're standing in the way or blocking progress. And I'll get into that a little more later. So, God, as we understood him, it's very important. It's your own understanding. Only you know what you understand, and you identify that. So let's deepen that. A lifelong journey which will evolve, change, develop, and grow. It likely involves historical experience and or resolving said experience. It includes new ideas and experiences, a willingness to pursue the depth of ourselves, our pains, failures, and successes while maintaining a realistic concept of humanity and the rules of the universe. Understanding God is not a simple task for humanity, and we all bring something to the table. So, what are these rules of the universe? Here's an example. Your birth is a traumatic, yet also possibly wonderful experience for someone. The female, for example, goes through a lot of distress, yet there's elation to it, and others get to share in that experience. Life includes navigating a very volatile environment. It's just the way it is. This life is full of twists and turns and wonderful things and difficult things. Praying only. That's in a class of its own. Singular in purpose. Message with specific intent. Very narrow in focus. Isolated from other human distractions. A formed message or question which by nature eliminates selfishness. Unreasonable wants. Eliminates needs, desires, outcomes. A formed idea which helps humanity or others, but not to the extent where one group is helped at the expense of another. If it is a message which helps us, it also helps others in its format. Now, here's what it isn't. It's not praying for the lottery numbers. Revenge, hate, only helps us. Selfish in nature, dishonest or resentful. It doesn't omit willingness to make amends if conditions were reasonable. It's not motivated by certain fears. These fears may lack faith or trust in the process, or lack a belief that we can do better or make a difference. These things, these ideas, these concepts lead us away from addiction. Many of those things can lead us to thinking of it as just a selfish type of thinking. And well, how about if I pray for the lottery numbers and I'll commit to giving my kids half the money? How about you pray for lottery numbers and commit to giving it all to charity. How about then you win and somehow by the time you're done, charity ain't got anything, and you get the idea. It's in this context for sobriety to achieve step 6, letting all those things go. For knowledge. So as we understand him, praying only for knowledge, access to heightened awareness, insight, spiritual superhighway of information, understanding our evolving existence, possibly interpreted through strengths, gifts, and abilities. Some coming from pain, former actions, behaviors, and thinking, efforts and successes. Others have always been there as we continue to grasp them like tools, all of which continue to develop, evolve, and change us, yet fit our understanding of ourselves and abilities. A true discovery. Knowledge of the best of humanity as we develop an understanding of it. Of his will for us, of God's will for us. Isn't to be a drunk, a drug addict, to feel broken or wretched, beyond hope, lost, alone, less than. A path to which makes sense for both God and myself. An alignment of wills, something we choose to do as a direct result of having the ability to choose. It aligns with a developing and undeveloped us. Becoming aware of the unknown about us, but fits like a puzzle piece. Believing or having faith that we possess the tools within us, about us, and will develop them out of our historical experience. Our experience is important, and gifts presented from the spirit of life revealed through our natural instincts. Many tools were developed out of pain, and we remember. If every day were a good day, we wouldn't know what a good day was when it came. We also wouldn't be motivated to engage life beyond our comfort zone. Willingness to convey the best of humanity and to the best of our ability. And the power. God as we understand him, and the power. Ability, resources, strength, clarity, willingness. We move beyond a simple belief and faith into a deeper personal understanding, embracing the freedom, exceptionalism, and limitless value of this new power. It's not destructive, not selfish, not self-serving, leads us away from guilt, anger, obsession, or revenge. It's definitely intuitive, imbalanced, and if exhausted after experiencing it from time to time, we are amazed to feel its freedom, happiness, lack of regret, and without fear relating to our experience. It's not always easy to describe. Step 1's personal powerlessness is being replaced. Step 2's belief in a power greater than ourselves is manifesting itself into a powerful action we are a willing part of. It's a means to convey through us the best of humanity and to the best of our ability, no matter how far down the scale we have come. To carry that out, and the power to carry that out, measured through. It doesn't result in guilt that you can't understand and reconcile. It's not resulting in resentment, fear, frustration, emotional pain, obsession, cravings, or relapse. When used, we experience the freedom, and we are strengthened by putting the tools we have or are developing into service. We maintain a willingness to return to this meditative environment and develop. Step 6, that we're entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. We continue to develop this brand new venture into open-mindedness and continue to raise our eyes toward perfection and walk in that direction. During meditation, we can achieve this state to the best of our abilities. We can try. I'm never going to reach perfection, but I'm going to continue to evolve about what it is, and the joy and the strength is in the journey. To carry that out, the power to carry that out, or implemented, would join with step 12. So the power to carry that out would join with step 12. Carrying the message to other alcoholics, addicts, those who cross our path in need, and practicing these principles in all of our affairs. What we take out of step 11, ideas and stuff, we bring into step 12, reason that stuff out as an additional guiding principle. This power to carry that out is deeper than just getting clean and sober. This is about living life in such a way that doesn't lead us back to addiction, addictive behavior, or emotional suffering, or casting it onto others. Instead, we become a vessel to help others seeking to abandon addiction, addictive behavior, and emotional suffering. Someone early in recovery might be like, oh, I don't know about any of that. I just want to get sober. Look at this. By the time you're getting up to step 11 and 12, you've done these steps. This is about living life. That's step 6, problems other than alcohol. Bill full well intended this to be about living this new way of life and carrying the message in a manner to help the individual stay sober. And we'll get into that later. What I'd like to do now is touch on just one type of meditation, one that I've found helpful. And I call it an interactive meditation. Many early on in recovery, just I decide, okay, I'll meditate, and I lay down, try to quiet my mind, and the more I try to quiet it, the louder it gets, and I get all frustrated, my mind's all over the place, and I can't do it. I maybe try again, and I can't do it. An interactive meditation helps me to get there, helps to channel the energy and ground me. Now, there's many types of meditations. There's all kinds of different people, different stages of recovery. There's times I can get to a nice, deep meditation, just not sleeping, but boy, just about. There's other times I can't. It depends on what I'm seeking to achieve. But first, why this place? Why meditation? See, there's a question that I didn't understand in early recovery. Nobody could quite explain it to me, or I wasn't willing to hear it, whatever the case is. But I hope to impress upon you today, it is the only place equal to all parts of my operating system within me. I have this operating system which can meet and work together. All parts of me. I will use at minimum the areas of fantasy, imagination, creativity, reasoning, and intuition to assist me. So what do I mean, all parts of me? Well, let's slow this puppy down and break it down. let me ask you a question. Who's running the show when you're sleeping? This operating system, you're functioning right here. I'm functioning. I'm talking to you. We're making sense of stuff, hopefully, anyway. But when I'm sleeping, well, it's something different. I'm being healed. Back in the day, even when I was drinking, I certainly wasn't drinking when I was sleeping. I wasn't drugging. Unless I was sleepwalking, I wasn't. So this environment of sleeping is like this whole other environment. It's a part of us. And I'll tell you, I don't remember my subconscious saying, wake up so you can drink and smoke. I used to smoke cigarettes, Instead, I wake up and then I imprint the thought or feel a craving. Certainly, I had drunk dreams. But what are those dreams, or what are they saying? Because it's like another life. In an odd sense, like there's some other person in my body running this other life in dreams and having a good time and telling stories in my sleep, maybe admitting to stuff or whatever the case is, right? You wake up and just an example, it's a part of yourself, an unknown part. Many times after something went horribly wrong, I just wanted to sleep to put distance between me and the emotional trauma. So there's one aspect. There's others. I believe you don't have to be alone in interactive meditation. If you're voluntarily stepping back so your conscious and subconscious can communicate, include an awareness of them in your meditation. You have these thoughts in the subconscious. It's a place where you can all get together and meet right at the edge of sleeping. So you might have some thoughts in there. It's a good place to see where these thoughts are coming from. Maybe they're coming out of the darkness. Maybe you need to put a little light on that direction and see just who's saying stuff. Maybe somebody's talking shit about you in your meditation, and it's a good time to figure out just where that's coming from, for example, or making suggestions that you just hear these thoughts or ideas, or concepts or feelings or noises, and it's a place where you might be able to isolate various parts of yourself. Also, the spirit of life or the natural instincts part of me from birth that protects me. I like to travel with that as a vague presence. I can manifest as a subtle white essence, for example. You might know it as your inner child or a spirit guide. What I want you to appreciate, what I'm saying here, that there's these instincts. You just a ball's coming at your head or something. You just, before you don't even think about it, and your hand goes up and stops it. Something told you to take your first breath. Something, it guides you, this operating system, before you had an opportunity to evolve on that. I'm just suggesting that you be aware of those parts of you, as they have also been affected by our lifestyle, and we have fought them. The more depth of your interactive meditation, the more opportunity to be spoken to in gentle ways, thoughts, visions, or changes in meditation not of your design. It's happened to me. For me, it would be rare to actually hear like a voice of clarity. I'm not in there having a two-way conversation. There is times in my life where I have heard that clarity, and typically it was because there was some level of danger. In meditation, it's different. Now, I might hear my own thoughts. I hear those all the time, right? Different things. They come to me somehow. Again, a paper and a pen handy to write down information for later consideration. Could be anything. Answers to an earlier question. The next invention. Ideas for a book or a shopping list. Who knows? There's no limit to the possibilities of information that could come out of meditation. And there's many a times I meditate and feel like I didn't necessarily bring anything from it other than I achieved it. Now, into the light. And what am I mean by that? So what's this in the light? The human being, as it turns out, functions much better in the light. I don't operate well in the darkness, and those that need to or are forced to, it's more difficult. So my meditations are in the light. I always have a strong light in my meditation. My experience has been that many things in the darkness are trying to hide, and so putting some light on that, trying to isolate that. So I'll tell you a little bit about one of my meditations, interactive meditation. One of them, I had a small pond and two waterfalls. Sometimes I'd in a river, and I would, especially when my mind, when it was so noisy, I had to create these things, this environment, and so I focused on that, and then I would lay out on that pond in some kind of a craft that I could just lay out. But you know what, that craft, I could do other things with it. Again, I'm using different parts of me to create an environment that I could understand. So when I could be good and settled and just floating out on that water and the sun's coming down, that was wonderful. But man, there was plenty of times that I just can't quiet the mind. So instead I started building the environment. What did I need? What would I like? What helps me? Because during the day, something goes wrong and I need a brief look at that environment. Well, that can be helpful. But what else is happening there? I'm letting go of all the pains. I'm letting go of my alcoholism. I'm letting go of my fears, my desires, my wants, anything bad. I'm just hate, or I don't like people, or I this or that, whatever. I'm letting go of all of those things, getting to that point in step 6 that I spoke of. And we can do that in meditation. We were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. So let's say we're just releasing all these defects of character from us, and we're just in a pure environment in meditation. And within that pure environment, the more I can let things go, I also then pay attention to some other stuff that's going on. What comes up afterwards? I get to that point, and then I start hearing what might come up, and I pay attention to things. What's bothering me? What seems so important? Have I forgotten something? And Bill's going to offer up some other ideas. We're going to intermix steps 10 and 11, and we're going to get into that reading next. Now, my environment that I speak of, it's based on known norms. It's based on situations in life. I'm not creating things that I can't understand. I understand how a water flows, or how to float, and how it feels in water, how the sun shines, and how other things might happen, and just to understand. And I'm not alone in that environment. There's a subtle awareness of the other parts of me. We're communicating. Well, I hope you found that helpful. Putting myself out like that is new. And next time, we're going to get into the reading. Big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, Step 11. And we're going to break that down. Thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified when new content is added. Also, you can support the channel 12-Step Guide with Troyo by donating through PayPal to hsworldservice@yahoo.com. The 12-step recovery process helps us to develop strong moral values where we were lacking. Steps 10, 11, and 12 are the final stages of our ongoing transformation toward putting these improvements into action. Just before Step 11 in the AA Big Book, Bill W. suggested, every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. Troyo believes this vision aims for us to aspire to a level of service that reflects the best of humanity.